Hi, welcome to Social Work 624, one of the diversity classes that emphasizes a feminist approach to clinical practice. What I want to do is give you a little bit of a course overview right now, and then introduce you to some theoretical frameworks in feminist family therapy. So first of all, I did post the syllabus on the Canvas, so you should be able to pull that up. And look at the course readings. You have 2 required books, and when there are additional articles, I will be posting those on Canvas for you. So make sure that you look at the syllabus for the course readings each week. And I do want to say also that the course is pretty intensive. You're talking about a semester-long course in the summer, so we do have 2 class sessions, Tuesday and Thursday. So the Tuesday will be meeting face-to-face typically, and the Thursday will be online. You certainly can plan other things around that time, but you do need to think about how you can allow that space to do the work. It is a pretty intensive course, and every class session you will have something due either in class or online. So just remember that even though we're only meeting once a week, it is a 2-day-a-week course, and it's structured in that way. You have 4 reaction papers in this course. I did cut it down by 2, so in a normal semester we would have actually 6 reaction papers, just because I think that during the summer the course does move a lot faster because of the 2 days a week. So I did cut that down, and I did cut down the reading list pretty significantly. A lot of those readings ended up in the recommended readings, so if there are particular topics you're more interested in, feel free to take a look at the recommended reading list. You'll have an article review, and we'll talk about this when we get face-to-face. We have our first face-to-face class, and I'll have a sign-up, but basically you'll be leading a discussion based on one of the chapters or articles for the selected week, or class session, I should say. And then you do have a very brief paper at the end. It's a 3 to 4 page policy brief. So think about a policy issue that impacts a population that you're interested in or that you currently work with clinically. Because a lot of times, particularly when we're dealing with different marginalized populations, we have to be aware of policy issues and how those impact the work that we do day to day, as well as our honoring really the expertise that we have because we work with certain populations every day. So we really understand things in a way that other people may not, who don't have access to working with particular issues or people on a regular basis. Then, as I said before, we will have something due each week, so it'll either be a reaction paper, an in-class activity, or a Canvas discussion on the weeks that you don't have a reaction paper. And again, please feel free to hold on to questions that you may have, and we can discuss them next week, Tuesday, and you're also welcome to email me in between that time with any other sort of questions that come up after you review the syllabus. But please take a look through the syllabus for all the more detailed information. I do want to go over course rules because we're dealing with, we will have it, particularly when we meet in class, we will be doing a lot of small group activities, pairing activities, dealing with issues of diversity, which can be, really tough issues to talk about. We're sharing our own personal experiences as well as thinking about different sort of social political issues, and that can be difficult. So think about your own boundaries. What are the things that you feel comfortable sharing or that you don't feel sharing? So sort of maybe as the semester goes on, think about what your own boundaries are for what you want to share and be respectful of that. Speak from your experience and always link it to the course material, and that's really important. So while it's okay to talk about personal experiences, a lot of times that can sort of lead to maybe more stereotypes or misinformation. It's really important to critically look at those things and link it again to the course material so that you're putting those personal experiences in a context, and that's very important. So I'm going to ask you to do that. Respecting confidentiality of others when things may be shared in the class, please be respectful of that. Pay attention to your airtime, right? Make sure that you're not sort of talking, being the one to talk a lot. It's okay for there to be silence, and leaving space for other peers to share. So just having some awareness around that. And also to listen respectfully to different perspectives, even when someone is triggered by something you said or you are triggered, and that may happen in this course. So there may be, we all have particular issues or triggers around issues of diversity, and so if that happens, try to remain respectful, even when you're triggered or when somebody else is triggered and maybe responding in a way and that, that may make it challenging for you. Also, really try to not blame or scapegoat anybody and really focus on your own learning in the course. And if there are other things, we can talk about course rules again, other things that you feel you need to sort of be safe or comfortable in class, we can add them to the list. So I just want to introduce one of your texts is by McGoldrick and Hardy. And I think that this text really sort of places this class in context. And it's really about sort of transforming how we think about working with families beyond just sort of looking at sort of the interior of a family, but looking at societal structures and how that impacts the work that we do with families. And I think that's really important as clinicians. To be really good clinicians, we need to have this contextual understanding of ourselves, of our society, and of our clients. So be really mindful of that and think about the importance of that to our clinical work. You cannot be a good clinical therapist if you don't understand the social structural context that people bring to the office, because people don't just have individual identities, but they have what we call social identities, particularly when people belong to a marginalized group. In terms of framework for this course, we're going to be talking about intersections of social identity. So you'll see reflected in the course that, for example, we may be dealing with older adults and gay and lesbian older adults and people of color and issues of class. And so there'll be intersections where we really look at people in a much more holistic way, and we look at these issues in a much more holistic way so that we understand that we're not just talking about gender, but we may be talking about an intersection of gender, sexuality, ethnicity, race, class, etc. So we're looking at this from that perspective in terms of thinking about how, for example, a white woman may experience her gender oppression differently than a Latina woman or a Latina immigrant woman. So thinking about how all of that, those different sort of categorizations shape our experience, our lived everyday experience. Also going beyond sort of this idea of evidence-based to really also include that subjective understanding and knowledge that often people from marginalized groups have, but it's not really valued because it's not seen as sort of theoretical or evidence-based. And so what we're doing in this course is really centering that experience. And beginning from there, from that point of view, from the subjective experience of marginalized groups. And we're also creating a space for personal stories of oppression, of suffering, that honors this different kind of knowledge. In feminist theory, this is called theory of the flesh, right? That it's theory that comes from the lived experience. And so that will be sort of the emphasis or the framework for how we approach feminist theory and how we approach the experiences of different groups that we're going to talk about. It's also about the ability to contain opposites, contradictions, and ambiguities, and that's, I think, one of the contributions of feminist theory, is that you're able to sort of hold all of these different ambiguities and contradictions, and that's okay. Oftentimes, most of you, I don't know if you've had 610 yet, but if you have, or if you will have 610, which is the advanced family therapy class, you're going to see that a lot of family therapy is structured in a way that supports dominant value systems and keeps other social structures invisible. For example, class or gender or race, we don't really talk about those things. And in family therapy, the theories and the approaches that were developed don't often consider those types of those issues. And so in this course, we're going to be approaching it from the reverse, right? Where we're not talking about this particular theory and how this group may or may not fit, but really looking at how do we develop theories and understandings that come from those groups rather than fitting them into something that's already sort of based on dominant